All right, here we are. How to make a scroll for original practices performances. I'm Lorianne from Wildflower Women's Ensemble, and I'm going to prep a scroll today as if I were to be playing Lady Capulet in Romeo and Juliet. So here is my script, and the first thing you're going to want to do, if you are in Windows 10, you want to make sure either you turn off autosave on the main document or you do a save as, save a copy, because if you don't, you will end up overwriting that script immediately, and then you'll have to undo, which I have done. You don't want to do that. So here's my save copy for scroll for Lady Capulet. Now for a scroll, there's a number of ways you can do it. This is my personal preference. I learned this from the Original Practices Company out of Atlanta with from Patrick Tucker, and I have adapted it to work for me, and many of the actors that I work with have as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of everything up to Lady Capulet's first entrance. I do keep acts and scenes because that helps me navigate within my scroll to know exactly where I'm at. And she does enter into this scene here, but it's a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. And this is her cue line. Down with Capulets, down with the Montagues. So I am going to, oh, that isn't, I don't know why that's not working. It's okay, we'll figure it out. Make another one. I tend to bring this out to about here with an underscore. And then to make this easier on me, I will copy it so that I can just copy and paste it. So there's her first entrance. She doesn't have any lines in this scene, but if there was anything going on, for example, say if she were to have a fight with Lady Montague, I might insert that in here so I have a note, or I certainly would at least write it down. And then I'll delete this because this is her exit. Put that in there. Usually it's about 3 words. I've done anywhere from 5 to 6 down to 3. It will really depend. Once she's gone, I get rid of the rest of this. And this is going to take me all the way down to Act 1, Scene 3. All right, so now we have this right here. And now we're in Act 1, Scene 3. She enters at the top. There's her next cue line. There's her next one. And so on. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. And it will end up being anywhere from 1 page up to, 10 or 15, maybe even 20 if you're playing a lead character, such as Hamlet. It might be 2 or 3 scrolls long. You can remove your character name if that is what you prefer, because unless you're playing multiple characters, and when you're playing multiple characters, I recommend, of course, that you leave all your character names so that you don't get confused as to which character you are playing. But this will work in concert with a plat, which I will show in another video, that will help you remember which scene you're in, especially if you are playing multiple characters. So once I've completed this, and let me go ahead and do this. Get rid of Lady Capulet. Lady Capulet. Okay, women go by men. Oops. Not what I meant. Okay, there we go. I beseech you. So here we have another big chunk where there's nothing happening. That Lady Capulet doesn't say anything. And for the exit, I do keep in entrances and exits of other people that affect my character or that might speak with my character or have anything to do with them. This is to make sure that I'm not going to miss anything. So this is what Lady Capulet's Act 1 and Act 1, Scene 1 and Scene 3 scenes would look like as a scroll. Okay, you can turn the line numbers on or off by going to, my apologies, to Layout, Line Numbers, Line Number Options, line numbers. And then over here, you simply turn them off. If you take off add line number, and it'll take them away. Start at 1, count by 5. On a scroll, it's not necessary, so I am going to take that out for now because the lines don't match up with anybody else's anymore. Okay, so once that's done, you can make it bigger if you're like me and you are in the glasses wearing phase of your life. Okay, you can make it bigger. You can highlight it if you want to make sure that you don't miss it when you're reading out there. Highlight your cues in another color. Highlight your entrances or stage directions in yet a third color, if you wish. Okay, and that's all personal preference. So once you have this done, print it out. And you're going to end up trimming it down, so you do want it to be less than, the text to be less than 8.5 inches, mostly because you don't want the scrolls to be too long and unwieldy. So you're going to want to keep this somewhere about 5 or 6 inches, maybe even a little bit shorter. But if you do need to make it bigger in text, you're just going to end up with more line wrapping and less, possibly less keeping the verse together if you're working in a script that has verse. Okay, I'm going to put that back. Part 2 of how to make a scroll. So I've finished my script, my scroll script. I am only doing a couple of scenes from this just so I can show you how to attach the papers together. But normally I would do the whole thing at one time. And I've printed it out, and now I'm going to trim it. So this is what we are going for, something that looks like this. This was one of my very first ones that I made. Yes, one of my very first ones, and this was one of my more recent ones. So you can see how things have changed a little bit. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this paper down. I do use a paper cutter just because I can't cut in a straight line. I leave myself a little bit of space on either side for the bands so that I have some room around it. Okay, so that's the first cut. These are the dowels I'm going to use. And as you can see, I probably could stand to have just a tiny little bit more room. So I'm going to trim some off from the other side as well. Alright. One more thing that I am going to do. I'm going to decide whether I'm going to trim the bottom or the top. And in this case, I'm going to trim the bottom so that I can attach these two pieces of paper together. And I'm going to trim the bottom of this. For example, say this is my last entrance and exit. So that's the end of the play. And now I am done with the paper cutter. And I will put that away. Okay. So I have my script here. I'm going to take and line it up. I do try to trim these together so I don't end up with this little overlap here. Sometimes it doesn't work no matter what you do. To attach these pieces of paper, the best way we've discovered is to use Scotch tape. And I use the tape that is not shiny. Actually going to get rid of the beginning of that because it's been sitting in a box. First, I will put one piece to hold it together. Then I'm going to take a piece just a little bit longer than the length of the paper. Tape it down, turn it over, fold it around the back. It is important that you tape both sides or you will end up ripping your scroll. I have done that. It's really frustrating in the moment you're trying to do a scene and you go to scroll and you can't because you've torn your scroll. Okay, so imagine if you had a bigger part, this could extend the length of the stage. Or it's, something like this where maybe it is just one page and it's a small scroll. Now I have 3 different sized dowels here. As you can see, as the time has gone on, I have gone to bigger dowels. Mostly because this is actually a little bit small, but it does work. And if your hands are prone to cramping, you're not used to this, this might be a little bit too small a dowel. But I believe this is the 3/8. This is the 5/8. No, I think this is the 1/2 inch. I can't remember, but there you go. 3 different sizes, 3 different lengths. This is made from 1 dowel cut into 4 equal pieces. That's why this is this length, and that's the length we've decided to go with because we can get more dowels out of it. If you are making your own, they can be as long as you want. I wouldn't recommend longer than this. Okay, so next, take your dowels. Double-sided tape is the best place to start with this. And once again, I'm going to clear off all this tape for where it's been sitting in a box for a few months since the last time we needed to make scrolls. And I'm going to take this tape and lay it along the top of this paper. As close to the edge as I can get it, which is not quite as close as it could be. And then I'm going to take my scroll, my dowel, and I'm going to do my best to center it right on that tape. Roll it over and press it down. Make sure it's straight. Then I'm going to do the next one as well, and I'll show you how I'll line up those 2 edges. Okay. Carefully laying this down. Because it is double-sided tape, it's very, very sticky. So I lay this dowel next to the other one. I bring this over and I do my best to line it up with the paper. So actually, let's do this. Line it up with the paper from the first one. Maybe it's better to go this direction. And then wrap that around. Almost there. Take this tape again. Making sure to extend it all the way over the edge of this paper that you have so that it stays and doesn't get caught, because once again it will tear. It is often fun to have a scroll making party because some of these things could use an extra set of hands. Okay, so there's that one. And now I will do this one. And just make sure that everything is laying flat, because it all really does matter as you roll this scroll up. Okay. I didn't do too bad, actually. So now I roll it up together. And I take my bands. These are just the small hair bands. Happens to be colored because that's what I have in. I don't need, so. And I put one on one end and one on the other. And there it is. And that's how you use it. So the bigger the dowel, the more space you have to read. Although those actually look pretty much the same because there's more paper on this one. But the bigger the dowel, this becomes a bigger reading space. When you're on stage, it seems like it's not very much when you're out there, but as you get out there, you realize it really does work. This can be held up more in front of your face. You can actually still have conversations with people, and it's part of original practices to work with these scrolls. So, how to put together a scroll for original practices work, and that is my way. Thank you.